Ooh, this one is really heavy. Interesting one. It's a time for package from China. In today's video we are going to be doing a little bit of boosting mini PCs to be exactly, or in other devices, with the BoostR01. So this is a portable external graphics processor. Yep, this is what we're going to be having nowadays. All kinds of cool solutions that we can upgrade our mini PCs. But is this for everyone? I think not, and let me explain why this is. The BoostR is one of the many solutions we have now, and I think we're going to be seeing more of them in the future. But what is this actually? What can you do and where can you just use it for? So let's say you have this mini PC. In this case I have another Herk product. But when you're having a device like this with a powerful AMD Ryzen on the inside, it also comes with a 780M, sometimes with these mini PC GPUs, and I love them. They're like very powerful, have a lot of capabilities. However, for AAA gaming we still have a little bit more power needed. And this is where this BoostR, let's say 01, comes actually in. Another cool thing is what you can do is have like a mini device like a GPD Win Mini. I love this device, and also it comes with similarities when it comes to the specifications of this particular mini PC and the same problems. So let's say if you want to use a portable way to play at home, or you're just going to be hooking this thing up into your monitor, yep, there are all kinds of cool ways to play. But this thing even utilizes the special connection, and this connection is a very fast port that can communicate with the external GPU. So what you can do, and yeah, as I say, if you're going to be playing at home, you're connecting an extra powerful GPU, and this way we can just actually hook up the extra external GPU and have enough power to play all of the AAA games on, let's say, in a very portable way. Of course, on the go it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I think that's one of the, let's say, extra things you can implement with a mini PC or having this with an, let's say, a portable device. But with me it's a great example. I already own these two products, so if you want to have more power it would make sense to actually buy an external GPU. This is one of the, let's get this box out of the way. Let's do this like, no, we have another box. Oh! But what I wanted to say, if you have like a device like the GPD, and yeah, there's one of those many ways to play, you can hook it up, and this way you can spend some money to buy an external GPU, connect this to your monitor and have like a very powerful setup, and the same goes for the mini PC. But if you have none of these devices, yeah, I think it's way better and easier to actually just buy or build yourself a mini PC with just an internal GPU. Let me know, what do you think? But when it comes to the GPU, what are we getting? So we're going to be having the RX 7600M XT. So 8GB of video RAM built in. So we have even extra SSD slot. So Oculink port, multi-monitor support, 4K, 8K ready. And of course, like this saying, the high FPS gaming indeed. And we have the option to VR, Windows 11 and Linux. So let's do a little bit of connecting, tinkering, and let's see what we can do with gaming. And also when it comes maybe to emulation, how far can we push it now? Because where we had some really great overall emulation performance, maybe you can push the boundaries with the BoostR. The external GPU also is kind of an, let's say, a tiny hub. Let me explain what I mean with this. So at the back we're finding a shitload of connections, and this is one of the cool features this thing utilizes. So not if you want to even play games, you have a lot of different extra ports now, so we can hook up multiple monitors. Connectivity will be through the Oculink and the USB-C, but the Oculink, I must say that I didn't have any luck with the GPD, and most of my performance will be tested by the USB-C. But it also utilizes an RJ45 port, so if you want to use internet you can just use it through there, particularly if you're going to be using a portable device like I did in the video. And of course an extra USB port and fast one for having connectivity of other devices. So if you're going to be looking into some basic indie games, yeah, this is not going to be something we're going to be combining with the BoostR today, with the simple reason because we don't really need it. The onboard 780M is absolutely an amazing GPU for indie gaming. I've been checking out all kinds of old school games, and I can tell you I really enjoyed myself when it comes to playing these games. So if you're considering having a mini PC, you want to have a little bit more GPU power for indie games, in my opinion, I would not really consider that because it's completely pointless. An onboard GPU is just more than powerful enough to run most of these, let's say, basic indie games. We're going to be looking into Task Manager after like the AMD Ryzen has been configured with the AMD software. Then we're going to be having an extra GPU. We have GPU 0 and we have GPU 1. So this is the onboard O version. This is 780M version. And over here we're having the GPU 1. That is the AMD Radeon RX 7600M XT. Whew, that's a mouthful. But you can also, it has like dedicated GPU memory use and the shared memory use. And yeah, we have in total 8 GB already mentioned before. So let's do a little bit of testing and let's see what we can do with the external GPU. And it's, by the way, connected by the USB-C port. But how about playing more demanding games? So I found it really interesting to see that where we're going to be playing on full HD many different games, we can have like a combination of sometimes low, even some games played on high on this onboard 780M. And I think even where this is like the most powerful and newest edition of the AMD Ryzen family, I think this can be a lot of fun playing and just these new remastered games on beautiful graphics on full HD graphics. Next up, we're going to be playing some old school Tony Hawk, or at least the remake. And yeah, where on the onboard chips, I noticed that this thing has some really cool overall performance. But I just wanted to see, okay, we have been putting it on full HD, maxed out. So where normally we're messing around with the onboard on, let's say, medium, high, messing around to get at least 60 frames per second. Now with having this on maximum settings. And let's see how far we can, let's say, push it when it comes to the GPU. Red Rogers, based on an Amiga game, you would say this is just an easy 2D platformer, but you know, this is a very demanding game with a lot of particles and stuff that you need to be rendering. However, this has been set to full HD and high graphics, and I can tell you do need a little bit of tweaking, but it's quite interesting to see that we can actually play this, because I've been testing this on, let's say, more powerful cars like a GTX and RTX, and some of them were really struggling just with a simple game like Red Rogers. And we're just going to be seeing how far we can push it with the external GPU, hitting 144 frames per second. I have no VSync on. You can actually see that we still have a little bit power over, and I mean, particularly we're going to be looking at the usage of the external GPU, 75%. So you still have a little bit of wiggle room if you want to do a little bit of an, let's say, maybe higher resolution or going crazy with this. We're just going to be testing it on 1080p. So with the onboard GPU, the 780M, it's like quite interesting to see how far we can push it, but this is one of those games that can be interesting. And yeah, if you're having a fast monitor that we have tested out here on the channel, we can even go all the way with 144 frames per second, and I think that is quite interesting. And I think this is one of the use cases if you want to just have like the ultimate experience with like frames per second, but also when it comes to the graphical stuff, we can actually play now without any problem whatsoever.
The pixel burst here. Looks like a glitch. Let's fix this.
So with these older games, I think we're not going to be having a problem at all. You can see that we're going to be forcing them into the highest, let's say, graphical settings in combination with full HD. So I don't want to go a little bit higher than that because I want to keep it on 1080p gaming at this point. Maybe you can even tweak with 2K, 4K resolution if having the right monitor for it. But beside that, I think on 1080p, so having an external, let's say, GPU attached to your mini PC, it will give so much more possibilities when it comes for playing these particular games that we had so many problems with. In this video, we are actually going to be testing those newer generation of AMD Ryzen. They come built in with a 780M GPU. And those GPUs, I'm a fan of it, with a simple reason: this thing has enough power and enough juice to actually do some upscaling too with some, let's say, later games. So N64, it's not really going to be an issue if you just want to play these things on, let's say, the onboard GPU. So in my opinion, if you want to go to extreme scaling, It is possible that you're going to be needing an external GPU in this case, but so far I have been testing throughout a normal review. So if you're going to be looking into, let's say for example, second screencast, you can do easily 4K rendering resolution on the onboard 780M, and a lot of stuff that runs perfectly. I think when it comes to the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff, extra filters, you name it, you can just play these without any problems whatsoever. So and also then I think when it comes to emulation, we really don't need any, let's say, external GPUs, and it's going to be completely time and also money waste. However, I think there are some of the emulators that can benefit from an external GPU, and that's not going to be a Sega Saturn or a PlayStation 1. I think we need to look into, let's say, the Dolphin for fun to see how far we can push it with an external GPU when it comes to that. So one of the tests that would be interesting if you're going to be testing out some, let's say, Dolphin emulation, or at least Dolphin, I mean particularly when it comes to GameCube and Wii. So what we can do is set up the Vulkan backend with the right, let's say, settings. That's something you need to take consideration, that you're going to be accidentally setting it on the onboard. So if you're going to be starting this up, you can implement VSync if you want to, but at this point I think it's going to be interesting to see how far we can push it. So let's say we're going to be having, let's say 4K, but from that point we can also see if they're going to be having higher resolutions if you're really interested in that, because the onboard 780M was quite interesting when it comes to upscaling, and we could do a lot of cool stuff with it. But let's see how far we can go push it with the Dolphin. Okay, first boot, let's give this thing a little bit of a moment to render at least. And yeah, of course, with the external GPU, yeah, you can actually see that we're having like 30-40%, so on full 60 frames per second. So when it comes to that, I must say that I'm quite surprised how well it works. So let's get into the Dolphin emulator. Let's do a little bit of tweaking. Can we get it? Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's see if the settings are still right, because I do have the idea that something has been, okay, it's set to Vulkan. Okay, that's good. And let's see, we're still running, but let's go to 5K. And let's see what's going on. Let's see, we're just going to be messing around with it. Let's go a little bit higher, 10 times native. But I was really wondering, it's like, how is it when you're going to be trying to play some Xbox 360 emulation, where Forza, I think, is one of those games that's really difficult to emulate. I just wanted to see if this is like more than powerful enough, and you can see that the GPU is hitting the 100%. So in other words, yeah, for Xbox 360 emulation, we're going to be needing a little bit more power with that. But let's connect the GPU to a portable device like my WinGPD. And if you're going to be combining this can be a very interesting option. So another cool feature I noticed with this particular device, it's also going to be automatically charging, so you can just plug it in, have external power from when it comes to, let's say, the charging perspective, but also you can just have the power of the GPU utilized. So one of the games I've played most on this device is just Forza Horizon. And I'm just flabbergasted at the settings configuration. The combination also with the rumble function is such a cool experience. And not to forget the very nice triggers that will give you like the perfect experience when accelerating or braking. It's not the same craziness like in PlayStation 5 with the feedback. I'm not really missing this at the moment. But just playing this is so much fun. It looks amazing, still even on a mix of medium and high setting. Of course, it's absolutely a miracle I can actually play this. And another thing I've noticed, I've been playing this game also with friends, and people all saying the same thing. When just playing this, the audio is not super loud, but the overall quality is so high, I can just really enjoy it this way. Enjoying the BoostR engine of my Subaru WRX, it's absolutely amazing. I personally noticed that if you're going to be messing with the GPD and the GPU, the thing that we need to do is messing around with the displays. So we can duplicate, but also in this case we need to say, hey, we're going to be forcing out the signal through the GPU, the external one, and this way we can switch between them. In other words, we're not going to be cloning the display, we are going to be forcing it to use the external GPU. But let's play Forza now, and let's put everything in a different setting. So setting it to the 1080p and high resolution. So with the GPU one is going to be utilized maximum, or at least it's going to be utilizing, and the second one, the GPU 2, doesn't do anything. But we do have like a great 60 frames per second. But what is interesting that we still have a little bit power going on. So what we can actually try to do over here is going to the settings, yep, the graphic settings, and let's set the preset to ultra. Save, continue. And we're going to be restarting the game. Or do we need to restart this freaking bloody thing? No, we don't need to. I love it. So in this case, we can actually like do that and just see we're having 80%. So this thing runs on ultra. You can see the CPU has been used to 46. So in overall, so if we're going to be looking into this, we can do a little bit more tweaking. And with 60 frames per second, 1080p, we have some overall really great, let's say, performance. But is this external GPU something you're really going to be needing? I think it's really depending on what you want to play. Out of the box, we can play a lot of emulation or just gaming or indie games that I personally play. So like with the GPD, and when I did a full review back in the day, I can tell you that I was really flabbergasted what we can do on the onboard GPU. The same goes for the 7000 and later model of Herk and other brands that utilizes the external GPU. The 780M is capable of running all kinds of things, and the BoostR, it's going to be an add-on. I mean an add-on if you're going to be playing, let's say, extremely, let's say, upscaled stuff when it comes to emulation, or if you want to play AAA games. Will this be a gimmick like SLI back in the day with 2 GPUs? That is something we're going to be seeing in the future. For now, yeah, if you have like an older version like this one I've reviewed, yeah, I couldn't get any connection going on, maybe due of, let's say, the version of, let's say, CPU, GPU or chips that they're using in this. But out of the box with these devices, it worked great. Of course, when a handheld, you need to do a little bit different tweaking, but I think it's a very cool add-on. But maybe sometimes even better just to build yourself a new PC with a GPU. Nevertheless, let me know in the comments what do you think. Thank you all for watching, and it would be great to see you in the next video.